Welcome, YouTubers. This is the GreatDanePicks.com 2016 NBA Final Session results. I know I quit out here a little bit early. It's March 28th. Follow the orange arrow. That's when I start. I start my first session January 15th. They're 2-week sessions, 6 total. But I'm ending this session just into the 6th session. So March 28th. I'll continue to give picks online out through April 7th. But I basically made my money, so I'm pretty happy with where I am. So this orange line at 20,000 is my starting bankroll. You can use any bankroll you want. You can scale that up and down, but I'm using the $20,000 bankroll, and my bets will be $2,000 a game, or 10% of that bankroll. And so if you lose $2,000. If you win at minus 110 odds, you'll get a profit of $1,818. So that's basically the way I'm playing it. I know you can get different odds and stuff in real life and slightly different numbers, but this is the numbers that I went with, and I usually take either covers, or if there's a slight discrepancy. I think I got a couple discrepancies this year where the real world picks were a point off and there was a tight enough game that it ended up making a difference. So that's big swing when you do those wins versus losses. But in the real world, these are real world, this is what I made. So let me recap the whole season, because this will be the finale of it. And so if I follow this black line, the solid black line is my frozen 2-loss picks. So I like to take those 2-loss games and run them by my dog and say, okay, which ones do you pick here? I figure they're due. Well, it didn't work the first session here. Basically, I froze out right here, and I lost $4,000. The black dots, where you see the black dots pick up, that's where it continued to go with, if you had kept on playing. But at certain points, I need to freeze every session now. And so the second session here, I ended up coming back. My goal is, of course, not to lose 20%. My goal is to win like 10% a session. So here, late in at the midway point of the second session, I hit just over 20%. Or $4,000 winning, or grew my $20,000 bankroll to $24,000. And so the black dots after that, that's where I froze it and stopped playing for the session. But the black dots continue. If you continued picking the picks, that's where they would have ended up with. So they lost again, but I had frozen here. So this big gap in between here and here is the NBA All-Star break. So we didn't play for basically a week there. But I was at 20%, and so the third session I won, almost hit the 30%, so I played an extra couple days, and I lost a little, and I gained a little, so I ended up capping it out there at 37% ROI, and it dropped again if you follow the black dots. And so that's happened the first 3 sessions. It doesn't always happen that way, as we'll see. Fourth session came out right out of the gate. I jumped up over 40%. I won, and I jumped up over the first 40%. So I just left it there. I didn't really bet most of those 2 weeks. And the black dots, they went down, and they went up a little, and went down, and then they started winning. And they actually won more than I won by freezing. So I almost got up to $34,000 or 70% there. And then it came back down. So you could have got out here at 70%. That would have been a nice year. I would have been done for the year if I had kept playing there. But anyway, since I got out early, I got out here at 46%. Now, session 5, I had a small drop here, and then it came right back. And I promised myself, even if I made just a little bit of money, it's just only like a half a win, right, to get up over that 50% or $30,000. Well, I got there, so I froze it, and I froze most of that session, but that session continued to rise up, got almost to the 60%. Again, I was trying to make 60% for the year, 10% times 6 sessions. I figured that'd be a good number to get out at. So I almost made it there, and then it dropped. So it was looking good, but then I had this 3-0, and the rest of the days I went to either like 1-0 or 2-1. So if I'd followed that stream, I would have made it up to the end of the session here and bid at 38,000 or 90% ROI. So there's a couple more points that you could have got for the year if you were playing with me, but I was happy at the 50%. And then session 6, I lost the first day, and then I had a really nice second day, and so that's where I'm freezing out here. You won't see, I know the black dots are down here, but they're going to continue to populate whether it goes up or down from here. So sometimes you get that sort of gambler's regret where you got out and you're not playing and it's winning, would have won for you. It's like winning lotto numbers or something. And sometimes you lose, sometimes you win. I like to think it evens out over time, but in the time you're doing it. So anyways, this is where I ended up. And so this is where I'm going to freeze this last session for me. I'm done. So 34,904, so almost 15,000, almost 35,000, grew that 20,000 to 35,000, but making $15,000. That 20,000 was never really particularly at risk in this second session, black line session. So that's where it's going to end. Again, this chart, let me just highlight down here that this chart, for at least when it's not frozen, it does include both sides of the bet. So that's just easier for me to calculate. So if I had two teams, there are 6 games where I had 2 teams playing each other, and so I'll bet both sides on this chart graph, and so I end up losing basically $182. Like 99 out of 100 times you'll lose $182. It'll never push on you. And so those could be factored in there, could be a little bit higher. Again, depending on if you followed it with me, you would have got lower numbers or higher numbers depending on where you got out. But at the end of the day, this was a winning methodology. I only had one bad session, and it happened to be the first one. The blue line is the head-to-head games. That's a single loss game. So there's a lot more games. You get to play a lot more. It's a lot more. The more you play, the more you tend to lose. But there's a lot more volatility in that type of system. There's already been 15 head-to-head games, so you're talking about $3,000. So this blue line could be higher than what it is, but let me review the blue line, which is the one-loss teams. Again, you're playing a lot more your bankrolls at risk because you're still playing the 2,000 a game, but you're playing a lot of games every night, at least more than with the two loss. So the blue line is the one loss, and so it did well the first session, and I froze it there at over 15%, but eventually got up to 30% in the first session. So you could have just took that first session, ran all the way to the ball game, took your 30% and gone. Now here's what I don't like: is it started the second session. You can see it's got a steep losing streak, and that happens from time to time, and it's also got a corresponding steep winning streak over here. So just really weird numbers. Sometimes that's the way it happens. You get these 50-50 propositions, but you go 0-5 and then you go 5-0 or whatever. But it did rebound back, and I froze it at the 20%, and then it lost with the blue dots, after that. So third session, again, it popped up really nice here, almost to 45% or whatever. And actually in that session, if you'd followed it for a couple more days, it would have made it up to this 34,000 or 70%. That would have been great to have been done in the season there. But again, I don't like the volatility. Now here's where that started to not do so well, is the beginning of the fourth session. You sort of had this steep trough here of losing, and then it came back eventually. So there were no freezing in this particular one. Never came back enough to make a profit. You ended up losing a little bit from here down to here. You lost a little bit that session. And then session 5 was ridiculous. I think I was over 12 at some streak or something like that. Just a tremendous loss. And you get down here, you're way below, and you're starting bankroll, and you're starting to panic. But it came back a little bit and just had some faith, and it did come back, but it did end up losing that session again too. So those really impacted the year, those big losing sessions. And the more you play, sometimes the more you lose. That's not always true, but that's the way it was in this particular case. I call these roller coasters where it really puts a lot of stress on you when you're losing that much, or even winning that much. It's great to be winning, but it's like, the losing just is really hard. So session 6, I froze it at the same day here. I had a little loss, and then it came back. So I hit over 39%, almost 40%. So I'm just going to call it there. I know this will tend to go off wherever it goes, but both of these were winning methods. 39%, nothing to shake a stick at, but I prefer that black line method. That's playing less games, risking less money, and still making pretty good profits. So 74, 39%. So both of those, that's the wrap up for the session. I guess I'm going to go pre-plan my Major League Baseball. This will be my second year on Major League Baseball. But did well in the NBA. Libby did great, so I'm happy with that, and I guess that'll be the end of this season. So congratulations if you followed me, and Libby's picks, and if you made money, all that much better. If not, we'll look forward to seeing you in the MLB or the NFL again. All right, see you.